Good morning, Rabbi. Good morning,
Good morning.
Chavra.
All right. Good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning today's 3 Prakim Rambam. Hilchos Chametz Umatzah, chapters 2, 3, and 4, Beis Gimel and Daled. We are beginning with Perek Sheni, with the second chapter. That's going to speak about the mitzvah of destroying Chametz and the mitzvah of searching for the Chametz in order to destroy B'dikas Chametz. This chapter has 19 halachas, beginning with halacha aleph. Says the Rambam, mitzvahs aseim in Torah. There's a positive commandment in the Torah, lahashbis. The word lahashbis here means to destroy the chametz. Koydem zman isur achilosei, prior to the time in which we may not eat it. Shenemar, and this is based on the pasuk in Parshas Bo, where it says by Yom Harishon, on the first day. Most people think, right, the first day means the first day of Pesach. No, the first day we will see means the day of Pesach. Tashbisu so'or mibotechem, you should destroy so'or. So'or means a leavening agent. And we already learned that whenever the Torah speaks about a leavening agent, it equally is referring to any type of chametz. You have to destroy it from your homes. And mipi ashmol lamdu, from oral tradition, we know Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu on Sinai that this verse Rishon does not mean the first day of Pesach, meaning it does not mean the 15th day of Nisan, but it means the 14th day of Nisan. And the Rambam writes, even though we don't need to have a proof, but here we have a proof. Since it says in the Torah, which means don't shech the korban Pesach when you still have chametz. We know that shechting the korban Pesach is not on the 15th, it's on the 14th, after midday. In other words, by midday, 14th, chametz has to be destroyed. Halacha beis, umahi ha'ashbasa zu ha'amora b'Torah. How do you destroy it? It's great. We're going through the system. Most people say, "Wait, destroying is an act of violence." No, b'chlal not. By Torah law, destroying doesn't mean to burn it. Doesn't have to be that way. Really, by the Torah says that Rambam, he sheyavatel hachametz miliboy. You should nullify the chametz in your heart by considering it just like dust. You know, we say by the end of the Shemona Esrei, like kind of so, may all of my enemies' bad intentions on me be nullified and be blown away like the dust, like the wind blushes away. That's called bittul. Real bittul. Bittul is not, or destruction is not what you would do externally. You can do something externally, and that thing can still live on in your mind. How did you destroy it? It's gewaldig. Physical or non-physical doesn't mean it's there or not there. There or not there, is it in your mind or is it not in your mind? If you decide, for me, this is nothing, it's destroyed for you. Gewaldig. The yasan believe that it's not, she'ein b'reshusei chametz klal. V'shekol chametz she'b'reshusei harehu ka'afar. U'chadavar she'ein v'yitzayre klal. This halacha will heal the whole world. That's it. Now, come along the Chachamim. The Chachamim acknowledge that not everyone is that deep the whole time. We're also physical beings. So, and furthermore, the way Tosfos writes, the whole year you eat chametz. No, it's not kosher. I always keep away from. I never eat non-kosher. Chametz is kosher the whole year. If a person will only do that, then there's a risk. What's the risk? You wake up early in the morning, like now, you're still tired. You don't even have today's Pesach. You open up your fridge, you see a bottle of beer, you see chametz. At that moment, you can forget that it's nothing. So, this concept, Yaron, that destroying something doesn't mean to physically destroy it, because it doesn't help. Destroying it means minatoida to make a mental decision that for me, that's nothing. Then you destroyed it. And if you didn't make that decision, you can burn it and burn it and burn it, and it's going to live on in your mind forever. It's going to control your life. So something being there physically or not is insignificant. Because if I experienced it once physically, just because I burnt it, it's still going to live on in me. And we all know this. But that's only good when we're living in the emes world, in the olam ha'emes. One day you wake up in the morning, you're in the olam ha'sheker. In the fake world, all what counts is the physical. So with Divrei Seifrim, no, you want to destroy it, go find it and burn it. That's how you destroy it. That's a rabbinic, that's a lower person thing. Lachapes achar chametz, to search after the chametz, b'machvois, in hidden places, b'achorim, and in the holes. And v'livdoi, and to search. Ulohitzia mikol gvori, and to physically remove it from your dominion. Furthermore, so first of all, now that number one, you have to physically get rid of your chametz. Yakir, this is gavaldik. Now the question is when? When do you? So we already said that when it says ach bayoyim harishon tashbisu so'im batechem, means to destroy it prior to the zman isar achila. Well, if that's the case, which is we already learned yesterday, midoiraisa prior to the 7th hour. We're going to speak out soon that today we actually do the burning on the 5th hour. Okay, but when would you search it? You could have argued search it an hour prior. Obviously, if you have a big house, you need more time. But if I have a little house, my house halachically is 4 amas by 4 amas. That's my house. I have a 1-bedroom with a studio. But it doesn't work that way. The Chachamim added, no, you have to make the bedika. Umashbis and Chametz balayla, the night prior. Mitchilas leil arba asar. And furthermore, you have to search it dafke to the light of a candle with a focused light. Not with the torch light, certainly not with the light of the day, certainly not with the light of the moon. Because when you look at everything at one time, you know what you see? Nothing. This is so deep.
So is this how you get rid of that?
Yeah, Yaron L'chaim, that's it, exactly. In other words, you need to focus on one specific thing. If you're looking at everything, you know, oh my God, I'm so messed up. So is everyone else, but you're not gonna better yourself. Bad habits get ruined when you darken everything else out. I have 80 bad habits, halavai, not more. Let me look and let me find one. And let me look in the cracks and in the holes. And then if I'm a very physical person, I have to externalize me destroying it. So then when I take the physical, I understand that by Torah, it's not about the physical. By the Torah, I have to make this into nothing. Because whatever has hold over me is nothing. But we think it's something, we empower it. Externalizing its destruction is very powerful. B'derabbanan. I know that. I just, very good. Exactly. You externalize. In other words, the Chachamim are not going to, really what you need to do is to do bittul. But most people, in order to get there, they externalize it. It's like when a person does kriya. What are they doing kriya? Why are they ripping up? Because they have grief. When we externalize the grief, it helps us physically. But it's not about the physical. Now, why by night? First of all, practically. They want to legislate. You got to do something. Do it when people have time to do it. Everyone is at their homes. Number 2, the light of the candle is good at night. The candle during the day doesn't do anything. Actually, it makes it worse. And therefore, since you have to do it in the night, there's a rule. You may not start a study session towards the end of the 13th, towards the end, near Shkia. Because normal people, healthy people, once you dive into learning, you can get 2-3 hours can fly by, you won't even know what happened. So don't start that. And a chacham lo yaschil likrois be'ezu. A chacham should not even begin to study. Forget about the study session. Wise people, you open up a book before you turn around. 2 hours flew by, 10 hours flew by. And you want to do it in the beginning of the time. Don't procrastinate. Halacha 4, let's fly. You cannot search not to the light of the moon, not to the light of the sun, not to the light of a torch. Small, gentle, focused light. But that is only true when you're looking into the holes, when you're looking into the hidden places. Because there, if you put a torch in, you won't put a torch in there because you'll be afraid to burn the house down. So a torch is actually not good. But in a nachsadra, if you have this outside porch area, which you have a lot of light, if you look, it's enough. The middle of the courtyard, you don't have to do bedika. Because the middle of the courtyard, birds are always around, and all of the chametz that you left over, the fegalach ate up. Now, today we have shelves. You know what the shelves were? There were holes in the wall. So he says like this, that a hole in middle of the house, which means in middle of the wall of the house. We're speaking about the wall that separates my house to the neighboring house. Speaking about ghetto houses, Union Street houses. Here in LA, we don't have these houses. Those houses that share a same wall. So the question is, I have to search, but they had holes that went through and through. So I only have to do bedika until where my hand reaches. Because what's the thing? The thing is, I might end up taking it out and eating it. I can't go, that's it. And for the rest, you can rely on the biblical bittul. Because that all began, that really midoraisa bittul is the real biur. Ashbasa. Another rule. Then you go to a good therapist, they begin crawling where they don't belong. It's like, take it wherever you don't put chametz in there, let it be. Don't destroy the whole thing because you're going to collapse. Upper and lower holes in the wall of the house. People don't use the very high and the very low. Or a roof of a balcony, and a cow stall, place a barn, velulin, and chicken coops, umasbein, and hay lofts, and storage houses where you store wine or you store oil. Places, Yakid, where in middle of a meal you don't enter to take what you need, because any location that people go there during the meal, that's a possibility that you had chametz in your house. You left a chametz. You don't go there. Based on storage room for large fish. Based on the rule, you only have to search where you normally put chametz. Unless you put chametz in there. But storage houses for beer, storage houses for wine, that people go there during the meal. Beis HaMelech, where you store salt, everyone goes to there during a meal. Beis HaShaiva, where you store your candles. Beis Dagam Ketanim, where you store a little fish alach. Beis HaEitzim, where you store your fuel, your wood. Or Beis Murias, and where you store your brine. Don't think that so many homes. There's little cabinets, the cabinet for this, the cabinet for that. And the holes that are in the middle of the wall, not all the way on the top, not all the way in the bottom. That's where normally people put stuff in. Because shestaman shemachnisin lahem chametz. Now, another detail. That's mamish the end of the first Mishnah in Pesach. And then that's a machlekes b'shamei b'silo. That ukshabayde kamartev, when you go into the wine cellar, because maybe the server, the waiter during the meal went there to get wine, and he went in there while he was holding bread. Which barrels do you take? If you're lacking wine, because that is where you would leave the bread. So the Rambam paskins, it's the two outer rows, which is the top one and the bottom one. So if you can imagine, let's say you have 10, 10, 10, you have rows of 10, and that's 100, and then you have 10 of those. They go deep in. You don't go into the middle. You go to the ones that are the easiest to get. Which barrels are the easiest to get? The ones on the top or the ones on the bottom? You cannot remove a barrel on the bottom. The whole thing will collapse. So you're going to go to the top one. So the top one and the one underneath it. That is where there's a possibility that some bread was left. Allah said. Now comes a big kasha. How can you do bidika? Think about it. I'm going to search for my chametz, and I cleared room A. Maybe a rodent went into room B, which I did not yet clear from chametz. Rodents like schlepping chametz from one place to the other. It took some chametz from room B, and it brought it back into room A. We're not afraid that a weasel, that's a chulda, or an achbar is a mouse, schlepped, dragged chametz l'makim she'em achnisim by chametz. Like, so what that I never brought chametz into that storage room? Maybe a rodent did. We don't have to be afraid of that. You know why? Because we can't resolve it. Well, what's the ein l'davar soif? Then you can never do bedika, based on the premise that God does not command us to do that which we cannot do. Because if that will be something that we have to take into account, imagine I was boidik my house, but my neighbor didn't yet. So 10 minutes, it's their nature. Yeah, if not. And weasels. That's why it doesn't say a rat. The kid knows rats, but he doesn't know weasels. So at least he'll give it in over here. Okay, good. It always bothered me this. Just want to know, what do you mean the Ein L'Davar Soif? In other words, what are we saying? Since Ein L'Davar Soif, so let it be. I don't know, but it doesn't mean it's not a problem. That's how I'm wired. Okay, right. But the Torah says that I'm not wired healthy. Right. And listen, that's the source that we al pi Kabbalah, we put out the 10 pieces. That's from these sugyas. So you put out 10 little pieces and you searched and you only found 9. Now you have a problem. Now, is it possible that a weasel ate up the 10th? Yeah, but who said it did so? We are not taking into account the weasels and the mice. So because you put out 10, you only found 9. So now we know that that they for sure got hold of one of them. Go find it. Now maybe they ate it, maybe they didn't, because sometimes they store it. They're hoarders. They need money in the account for tomorrow. They're very present. No. Making a mess doesn't mean they eat it all up. It means that they ate some. I know one thing, that when the big rat walked in here a couple of days ago, took one look at you, you looked at it, and it went out. Very connected. Let's go back to Allah. The guys are missing all the fun in the house over here. If you see a mouse running with a piece of chametz in its mouth after you do bedika, this is the nightmare. Kastirer. Yeah. Okay. So listen to this. If you see the achbar with the chametz and it's running into your house, you have to be boidik again. Yakir afapi, that you find crumbs in the middle of the house. Look, he made with his mouth. Why? If you see crumbs, what's circumstantial evidence that he stopped in the middle of the house, he had lunch, and that's it. And these are the crumbs. No, these are other crumbs. The one that it stole, it hid in a hole. Put it in a hole, he put it in a window. This is like today we have the squirrels. That's what they do. They take here and they bury there. Bidiyuk. Like, so we talk about squirrels. And by the way, they're all from the same family. I don't know why people, they're terrified from a rat and they love squirrels. Squirrel is a rat. Just because you put on a pretty tail doesn't do anything. It's a big, ugly rat. The crumbs is other crumbs. So lefika chayzer baydik. Now, imlay matzah klum, you have to be baydik the whole house. And there's a baydik all abayis. Now, of course, when do you have to be baydik the whole house, Yakir? If you don't find it. If during your search number 2, you're searching the second time, you find that bread, then you don't have to continue searching. You understand? But just finding crumbs doesn't mean you found it. The crumbs could have been from something else. Now we're moving from a mouse, from a rat, from a weasel, from a squirrel, we're moving out to an infant. But an infant is also problematic because they're crawling around and they're taking stuff from here to there. Allah, if you see an infant, a child, that goes into a house that was already examined for chametz, the child is crawling with a piece of bread, and after the child you find crumbs, then ain't it tzarich bedika. That you don't have to eat. Here we say the crumbs are from the one that he ate. Why? Because infants make a mess. Mice don't make a mess. The ein derech achbar lefared. Hafachba v'hafachba d'chayla. Learn Torah. Everything is in the Torah. There you go. Now, if you don't find any crumbs, the infant went into the house with a piece of bread, with a Danish, and the infant doesn't have anything. You got to look through the whole house again. Halacha 10. Here we go, guys. Psachim. You're gonna love this. If hiniach tisha tziburim shel matzah ve'echad shel chametz, there were 10 piles, one of matzah, one of chametz. Many times we go after the majority. This will be the halacha yakir that kol hakavua kemechzal mechzal, which will be here to the detriment, because here you had 9 of matzah, you have majority of matzah. It's not going to help you, and one of chametz, and a mouse come and it takes from one of the piles. We already learned that if you see a mouse taking from chametz and going into the house, you have to be boidik the whole house again. So now we don't know if it took chametz or it took matzah. We know that the achbar went in there. We know that it went in with something. We just don't know what that something is. You have to examine again. You follow the majority. Nish. Because since every pile is fixed in its place, so we have a klal, you saw a take from the pile, and the ein kanamakim, because of time restraints. But this is the big klal. Halacha Yud Aleph. All right, Shnei Tziburim, if you have two piles, not 10, two, one chametz, one matzah. But it's not that the mouse took from one, you don't know which one went into the house. Two mice came. And there's two piles. Guys, there are two houses and two mice. The beauty is that one house wasn't yet boidict. You're going to be making a dika anyways. One mouse took from one of the piles and went into one house. One mouse took from the other pile and went into the other house. Here you can say that the mouse that took the chametz went into the house that was not baduk. The one that went into the house that was baduk took from the matzah. Yeah. Yes. Echad baduk v'echashen baduk ubo shnei achbarim two chaverim. Zen natal chametz v'zen natal matzah. Actually, when they took it, you knew which one, but then they got mixed up. The case number 2. Two houses, they were both examined. And there's only one pile of chametz. There's only one pile, and comes one mouse. And he takes, and he entered one of the houses, and you don't know into which house. Case number 3. The nichnas achrav badak v'lo matza klum. You don't have to search again. Oy shebadak umatza kikar chol elu ein tzarich livdoik pam shniya she'ein kan kavua. Whenever the doubt is whether b'chlal it entered a specific house, so there's no kaviyus. There's no kavua in the house. There's no kavua in the house. That will be the words. And we have to go right there, but these are things that we spend many weeks in yeshiva debating. Halacha yilbeis. If you leave chametz in one corner, well, the normal case, and you find it in the other corner, someone moved it, maybe who knows what happened, or you left 9 chalas, and you find 10. Boy, you left 10, you find 9. You left 9, and you find 10. Business people are happy with that. It's good. Left $900. This never happens. And you wake up and there's $1,000. It's always the other way around. Oi, by me. Oi, shoy tisha tziburin matzav echad chametz. Here, let's go weiter. The roiv was matzav on chametz and yakir. Not that the mouse took it from one. That's called kavua. First, to pay the shkikar mehen. A bread was separated, and at that time, the eni doayim chametz matz. That's step number 1. And now the achbar didn't take it from the kavua. Ubaha achbar, they're not like kikar shepedish, and it went into our house body. Gavaldik. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. You would have more time. We would stop here. We would have a big fabrengen, and it's gavaldik. But we don't have time. So we're moving on. Halacha you give. Nichnas achbar labayis v'kikar b'fif. A mouse runs into a house. You have to have that picture, and it's running with the piece of bread. And then a couple of minutes later, what appears to be the same mouse runs out with a piece of bread in its mouth. What's the question? Could you say this was the mouse that entered, that's the mouse that exited, so you're good? Or no, maybe this mouse that entered left the bread in the house. This is another mouse that took another piece of bread. Do you have to have that fear? We're good. We connected. That's the bandit. You don't have to make a mistake. But if the first one was shachar, you see a black mouse running into the house with the bread in its mouth, and then you see a white mouse running out with bread in its mouth. That's not the same mouse. That's not the same mouse. Yeah, here Yaron is laughing. Now, what's the chiddush here? What would you think? Of course, it's not the same mouse. I know it's not the same mouse. But we don't say that the white one grabbed the bread from the black one. That we don't say. Because the black mouse would not allow for the white mouse to take it. Stand its ground.
Going back to bad habits, there's different triggers for bad habits. So you get rid of one bad habit, you got rid of all of them.
Gabaldik, and it's all that. It's all that. Exactly. The mouse is like one little Yetzer Hara. They don't connect. Now, nichnas achbar v'kib v'fiv. Now listen to this. A mouse was in. You have to have this picture with a piece of bread in its mouth. Then you see a weasel running out, and the weasel has bread. Now you would think the weasel is bigger, right? Maybe the weasel chopped it from the mouse. We don't say that. The mouse would not even give it to the weasel. But what happens if you see the weasel running out, and in the mouth of the weasel is a mouse, and in the mouth of the mouse is the bread? Then you say it's that one. Now, what happens if a snake goes into the house and there's bread in the mouth of the snake? So the Rambam says you don't have to bring a chabar. A chabar are those snake charmers that knew how to do. You don't have to do that. Basically what we're saying is that what happened? That the snake swallowed the bread. So there's nothing to be concerned about. You only have a snake in the house, no big deal. As long as you don't have chametz, you're good. You can have mice and weasels and snakes. No chametz. Halacha Yudal. Gizai is chametz, b'shmei koirov. Chametz is discovered on a very high beam. So what did we learn before? You only have to look where chametz can be found. It's very high up. No, it's still a problem. You have to bring a ladder and take it down. You don't forget, guys. We began that bittul is enough. Why do you have to do bedika? Because you might end up eating it. It's on a high beam. It can fall down. But that's only because gravity goes in that direction. Now, if you have a very deep pit that you never go in, and on the bottom of the pit you have chametz, you don't have to bring it up because nothing falls up. We only fall down. I'll give you a mashal, Yaron. If under my fridge in the kitchen, am I mechuyev to take the fridge away to go look underneath it? I don't have to do that. Even though it could be that there's a piece of bread underneath there. Could be. So what? I did bittul. I nullified it. That's the main destruction. Elama, physically, it's going to be there. I might end up eating it. I can't get there. I'm not going to wake up in the middle of the night and move my fridge to look underneath it. Halacha tezvav. If you have a block of yeast that you decided to sit on the block of yeast. So the whole thing is one piece of yeast, but you decided to make it into a chair. So is it chametz or is it a chair? So if you smear the outside of it with titchis, with mortar, then you nullify it. It's not yeast. We're not afraid that you're going to break open your chair to go eat it up. But if it's not covered over with something, then dough that's in the cracks of a kneading trough. Is that a problem? I guess. If there's a kazais in one place, you have to destroy it. Midrabanan, you have to destroy it. The way we do it. And if not, if there's no kazais in one place, so I have to know why is it there. If it was placed there to strengthen the cracked trough, if it was placed there to fill the hole, in other words, you placed it there for it to become part of the utensil. You want it to be there. It's less than a kazayis. Your intent was it should become part of the trough. So then you nullified it and it's okay. But if not, if you didn't put it there to make the trough better, it just got stuck in there because there's a crack, then you have to destroy it, even though it's less than a kazayis. Next. If you have two half a kazayim that are in two different places, now one kazayis you have to remove. You don't have one kazayis. Problem is that there was a crack here, and there's a crack here, half a kazayis, and there's a little line, there's a little strand that is connecting them. Are they one or are they not one? The chut shall batzek b'neim royin. If you would grab it by that chut, you would be able to pick up both half a kazayim, then it's considered one. And if not, then a chayv levayir. B'med dvarim amurim, only ba'areva, aval b'bayis, afal pishim yonat l'chut enum tolum ima. In a house, it's much worse. You always have to destroy it. Why? Because whenever I have holes in my wall and there's some dough that are in there, every now and then people clean their houses, and when they do so, they scratch out, they clean out the walls, and they might gather these two kazayim together. Now, what happens if a half a gazais in the house, half a gazais is in the roof? Will they ever be gathered together? Half a gazais in the house, half a gazais is in the achsadra. It's an adjoining porch, but it's a porch. It's another environment. Half a gazais in the house, half a gazais in the inner room, in one room, in an inner room. Since they're not laying out, they are right now stuck into the wall. Right now, they're part of the wall. To say that you might clean it and you might join them, these two steps, where Ella, you fall back on the biblical, be mavatal it in your heart and vidayo, and that's enough. Allah 17, Hamaskel by Istam. You rent a house on the 14th day. We just said that the search is done the night prior. You are a religious Jew. If I rent a house on the 14th, I presume that you, the owner, prior to renting it, it was your responsibility that you made the bedika, and I don't even have to ask you. However, if the owner, right, is known to be a person that's not yet observant, they didn't look for it. But for Amra Ishay Katan, a woman came, a minor came and says, yeah, don't worry that the owner, we did it. We believe them. Everyone is believed concerning Biur Chametz. Everyone understands the stringency of it. And everyone is kosher for Bedika. Even Avadim, Nashim Avadim Ketanim. Ketanim are believed. As long as the Ketanim are Yeshlam Das Livdoik. They don't have to be adults, halachic adults, but they have to be of age that they understand how to make a Bedika. Halacha 18. When you rent a house, so now that we gave a rule based on a premise, now let's speak about the premise. And that is that if I own a house and I rent it out to you, who's obligated to make the bedika? The one that was in possession of the home. So he says like this, when did the night begin? The obligation begins the night of the 14th. When it got dark, if I'm the owner, if I didn't yet give you the keys, so then the obligation began on me. I cannot remove it by giving you the keys. I have to examine it. If first I gave you the keys before it was dark, that's it. Then Allah lived. If someone rented a house and he did so with the presumption that it's already searched for chametz, and then he discovers it's not searched, so the guy, the renter, cannot say, "Listen, you tricked me. You really should have been doing it. You do it too late." Now that the renter has the house, Allah lived, and you can't say mekach toos, huh? If you found out, and you want to cry, mekachtos, you found out, you say, I was tricked. You're not tricked. Even if it's going to cost you money, because you're doing a mitzvah. People like doing mitzvahs by themselves, even if it costs them money, more than other people doing it for them. That's what the Torah says. Whether we are aware or not aware, that's the emes. Final halacha of this chapter, halacha 19, halacha yutes. I'm a farish by yom if a person is going on a sea trip, which means that they're leaving many weeks before Pesach, but they're going out with a caravan. Am I obligated to do the bedika? So there's two things I have to know. When did I leave? Number two, am I planning to come back during Pesach? These two things together have to be put. If I left already within 30 days, guys, not 30 days from the 15th, 30 days of the 14th, because the obligation of bedika is on the 14th. So if I'm within 30 days and there is a link between the Yom Tov and 30 days prior, not more prior. So if I'm leaving within 30 days, then I have to make an examination. I don't make a blessing. I want to add one nuance. Then they didn't sell the house to a goy. Now it changed, but then, okay. So if I'm leaving prior to 30 days, so then it depends. If I plan to come back, I also have to make a bedika. And only then can I travel. Now, if I'm planning to come back before Pesach, why can't I say, I'll come back before Pesach and make the bedika then? Because even today, especially then, you plan to come back before Pesach, could be by the time they come back, it will already be Pesach. Or even if you're going to come back out of Pesach, it's going to be already afternoon. Shema Yachzed out of Pesach, Bein Hashmashos, it'll be too late. Even if you come back in the afternoon, Yakir, at least then you are allowed to make fires and burn. If you come back right before, I got there the last second, you won't be able to burn it. But if you left more than 30 days prior to the 14th, not to the 15th, to the 14th, and you don't plan to come back, you don't have to do a bedika. And similarly, forget about traveling. If you change a designation of a place in your house, you have many bedrooms today, people have bedrooms, What happens if they decide this bedroom will become my storage house? We're speaking about people that are storing items that they never go in there. Like they sell products, not that every now and then they have to go in there. They put stuff in there and they lock the door. Maybe I don't have to sell it because it became a storage house. So in the same concept, if I made that environment in my house into a storage house within 30 days, then I have to make vidik because I was already obligated to some degree. And then gather whatever you want to put in there and lock up that room. But if you made that room into an oitzed, same logic. If you plan to go in there before Pesach, you plan to clear it out before Pesach, you have to make a bedika, and only then to make it into a storage room. But now we're going to learn about bi'ur chametz. Bi'ur chametz. Ashbasa means belet. Bir means fabrenin, to burn the chametz, and the bittul that we learned in the previous chapter that has to be done on a biblical level. Perek Shlishi has 11 halachas, and Chevra, let's go for a run. Halacha al, Jewish exercise. Does. Learning Rambam quickly. And shuckling. When a person is making a badika, and you're checking and searching on the night going into the 14th, as we spoke out in the previous chapter, and you're going to remove the chametz that you find in the holes and in the machva'os and in the hidden places and from the corners. Gather everything, put it in one place. Don't leave it hanging around until the beginning of the 6th hour of the day. Yakir, just to know, we burn it today. Just know, we burn it in the 5th hour. Because in the 6th hour, it's already asur bahana. The moment it's asur bahana, you can't do bittul anymore. It's not yours to do bittul. When we burn the chametz now, we burn, but also we make that declaration that the second kol chamira v'chamiyah that I found, that I didn't find, but the same thing. It's in the beginning of the 6th. Now, if you want to burn it on the night of the 14th, you can burn it. You don't have to wait till the last second. Of course not. Halacha beis. No, and a chanami, because people burn it. They say the kol chamiyah. When they say the kol chamiyah, if I plan to eat chametz, which we eat chametz, then I can't eat it. It's a contradiction. I'm saying it's nothing, and then I'm eating it. Halacha beis. The chametz that you leave on the 14th, the one that you want to eat the next day, ad arba sha'os, like we learned yesterday, my friends, you can only eat chametz until the 5th hour. You don't leave it mefuzah and mafayed b'chal makim. Because and then you find it missing. What did we learn in the last chapter? Go back to the stories of the mice. I think there were 10 cases of mice in the Gemara. Then you're going to have to check the whole house again. What happens if the 14th falls out on Shabbos, means Friday night? You're not allowed to make a fire on Shabbos. What do? You make the bedika erev Shabbos. You make a bedika in the night going into the 13th. On Shabbos. You leave food for 2 days, Yakid. For Friday and for Shabbos. Not the whole Shabbos, God forbid, until the end of the 4th hour. Bashar, you burn it before Shabbos. You know when we burn it today, Yakid? We burn it on the same hour. The Rambam doesn't pass. The Rambam says since it's not the 14th, you burn it right before Shabbos. What happens if you don't eat up everything that you put away? You don't eat up. Today we flush it down the toilet. See, that's what we do. They didn't have toilets then. What do? That's the most you can do. You go back to the biblical law, and if it's be'en, you might forget and eat it. You cover it. The koifa olive kli ad matzah yom severishain, and then you burn it. Allah chadalit. Choyloi kikreis rabbi shel truma. Now here's the issue, guys. Truma, that's chametz. I have to burn because there's an obligation to burn chametz. But other than the chametz isur yakir, I'm not allowed to burn truma that's tahor. So v'tzarich l'safar erev Shabbos. Another thing, when I'm burning it, burn tahor and tamei? No, because even though I'm burning it because it's chametz, I cannot be metamei truma. If I mix all the chametz tahora and tamei together, then I'm being metamei it. So lo ya'arif tahora and tamei v'yisrael. So if the tahora la'atzmo, tamei la'atzmo, and taloy la'atzmo. We're speaking about a kohen. Now, halacha hey, mishu shachar b'shoy or b'meizid v'leibadak b'leil arba asa. It's not like Avar Zman Le Batal Korbani. We don't say that. No, Boidik Ba'arba Asa B'Shachris. Loi Bodik B'Shachris, Bodik B'Shas Abir. Which is when, Yakir? The fifth hour, because the Rambam says you burn it from the beginning of the fifth hour. Loi Bodik B'Shas Biur, you're not done yet. You're Boidik during the Yom Tiv. Exactly. You burn it. That's I just said the end of the fifth hour. You have to exactly. You know what? You're also not done. You have to be by the kachar regel, because we learned yesterday that midrabanan chametz sho'avar pesach is also bano. Kedei sheyivayin mashim samei chametz sho'avar pesach, because it's also bano. Allah chavav. Shavay deka chametz b'leil arba asar, Rabbi Yom arba asar. No matter when you do it, even if you do it late, make a bracha. Mevarach kodim sheyas chalivdik. Baruch ato Hashem. Lekeinu melech ha'olam. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvos v'tzivanu al biur chametz. And then, like we learned, only one thing: if you're boidik after the regel, even though you're obligated, because the chametz is also no, then you don't make a bracha. When you finish this search, as long as you did it koydam sheishas, yakir means fifth. Then tzarich levatel kol hachametz shenisha b'reshus serenere. You still have to make the declaration of it. And v'yoymar kol chametz sheyesh b'reshusi shaloi reisiv v'lo yadativ harei ubater v'harei ukaf. But aval in badek mitchila shash shishis olamayla ain't tzarich levatel. Ain't tzarich because it's not going to help. Why? Because it's not yours. Why is it not yours? Because even though it's only midrabanan, so what? Since the Chachamim said that from the 6th hour, not only may you not eat it midrabanan, you can't even have hana. It's not yours enough to be mevatel. It's a catch-22. It's yours for you to violate. It's yours for you to be over bal yiro bal yamatzah, but it's not yours for you to nullify it. That's all of our craziness. It only hurts us. We don't own it. We don't own it enough to be mevatel it. That's the problem. That's the problem that we have. If I would know what it is, I would say, I don't want you. You can't get rid of it. Can't get rid of it. Halacha ches lefikach im loy bittul. That's Mashiach will help us do that. Im loy bittul koydem sheish. Umisheish also l'mayla matzah chametz shayidata olav vayivaliboy. You considered it important. In other words, that I'm hinting, Yakir. What happens if I find a few crumbs after seis? That doesn't matter. Crumbs are by default garnished. We're speaking about something that, if not for Pesach, I consider that important. It's something that's valued. Not verbalized. I didn't even know that I have it, but it's valued in my heart. Oh, that. But shachachay b'shas abir v'loy bi'aroi. Then hareza avar aloy roi v'loy yamatz. Sharei lebir v'loy bittul. The ena bittul umayil ato klum. Why? After the 6th hour, l'fisheinu b'reshusay. So hold on. If it's not b'reshusay, how am I violating? No. V'hakasuv also keilu hu b'reshusay only for the negative. L'chayve mishum l'roi v'loy yamatz. Right? Chazal say, Shnei dvarim eino b'reshusa shaladim. The Torah so keilu b'reshusa. Chametz b'Pesach or bar b'reshusa Rabbim. Bar b'reshusa Rabbim is not mine. But if I made it, I'm liable to pay for the damages. It's mine for me to be liable, but I don't own that real estate. I'll make a hole in Manhattan. I'll become a billionaire. Yeah, v'chayv levari, all of us. V'chayv levari, all of us for the billionaire, not for the whole. V'chayv levari b'cholei shim tza'enu. Hold on. So what? Therefore what? Therefore you have to burn it. In other words, if bittul works, you should know, midoy raisa, bittul is enough. But if bittul doesn't work, then midoy raisa, you have to burn it. And you can't burn it. Why can't you burn it? You can make fire. You can't make fire. You can only make fire for food. You right? So then, and then I'm about it. With one exception. If it belongs to Hegdish, of course you had to destroy it. But there's no fear that you're going to eat it, because people are already habituated never to violate Me'ilah. People keep away from Hegdish. And it's not a chlich base olav sha'akol parshim ibenu. Allah chanai mishi yatzam abese. Koydem shasab. Huh? Yakir is asking, other people might not know kasha. Maybe if other people don't know, you have to cover it. Allah chanai. Many people, when they're magdish, they go to shul, they let everyone know, I was magdish, that then the ganze shtetl knows they were magdish, their loaf of bread. Allah chanai. Mi sheyatzim basic kodem shas abiur, last week's mitzvah, oy lechel b'sudah shal mitzvah, like Suda said to Venezuelan, and he reminds himself, he remembers that he has chametz in his house. So if in Yachal Lachzor, if you can go back, if you can go back, burn it and go back and not miss the mitzvah, then Yachzor v'im lav. Then you go back to the default biblical law. And what we learned in the second chapter, that midoraisa bittul b'lev is enough. Another case, if a person went out of the city, guys, there are people that are being attacked by soldiers. Someone is being attacked and help, and you went to help. Or someone is drowning in a river, or there was a fire, or there was a house that collapsed. In other words, you're in the middle of doing a mitzvah. Then you go back to the default. If you went for your own stuff, then you have no excuse. But how much do you have to go back for a kibetza, which is amazing. If it's less than a kibetza, now that you're not here, you left, guys, a roll dough, which means it's not yet chametz. I know that today, 18 minutes, takes a while for things to become chametz. So when you left your house, it wasn't chametz yet. And when you left, the niskar acha sheyatzav who yoshel lifnei rabbi who yorei shema tachmitz koydem sheyavod. Also, hareizim avatla believe koydem shetachmitz. Koydem shetachmitz. But if him echmitza, then ein abitul moyel klum. Ela kvar over al revel imatza and v'chayv levada miyad kishiyach salabesi. And final halach of this chapter. Let's go. Ketzad bir chametz. In other words, we already said hashbasa that Rambam says midoraisa means mevatel belieber. But now we learned so much about midrabanan, and even in cases where midoraisa, the moment midoraisa, you cannot do bittul, like we just learned in all of these cases, because it's already too late. Now you have to actually burn it. So also, I keep on saying burning, I have to correct myself. That's a machloikis. It doesn't have to be burning. Once it's begashmias, it also means destroying. It doesn't have to be burning. You can burn it, which is what we do. There's another option. Mifareir means you crumble it, v'zoyra laruach, and you toss it into the air, or you throw it into the sea. If you throw it into the sea, you don't even have to crumble it. But if the chametz is very hard, and the sea won't quickly break it down, then you also have to crumble it and then throw it into the sea. Chametz, enough all of my playlist, the house collapsed over chametz. So yes, if you have debris with the depth of 3 tvachim or more over it, it's already considered mevoyer. It's already considered destroyed. But if you don't have 3 tvachim yakir, then you have to go search for it. If you gave a gift, your chametz, to a guy before the 6th hour, you don't have to be mevayer. See, all of the selling of the guy came from the story. Remember, the Tanoim, they were on a ship, so they gifted it to a guy. You can make a fire on those ships. Maybe even today, they don't let you make a fire. Another detail. If you burned your chametz, forget about the guy, before the 6th hour, now you have the remains of, you have the burnt charcoals. But if you burnt it after the 6th hour, it already became asur b'hana. So now the coals, the charcoal remains asur b'hana. Lo yasid by tana v'kerayim, v'lo yoifer boy, v'lo yavashal boy. And furthermore, the im afa oy bishul oisa pas oisa tafshel is asur b'hana. And the pechamim themselves, the charcoal themselves, are asur b'hana. Because since you only made it into a charcoal after it was already asur b'hana, chametz is so deep that even though to some level you transformed it, the chametz is asur b'hana, but this is a charcoal on a deeper level. This is the same thing, and therefore it remains asur b'hana l'chayim. And now we are moving on to today's 3rd chapter, Hilchas Chametz U'Matzah, Perek Revi'i. Now we're going to learn more about the isur of lo yeirav lo yematzeh. I know that we mentioned this already in chapter number 1. It's a lav she'ein bo yemaaseh, but if you brought it on, we're going to now dive into this lav of not possessing or not seeing. And as what will become clear, the isur is to own my chametz in my property on Pesach. If I have a non-Jew's chametz in my property on Pesach, I'm not violating, as we'll see. This chapter has 12 halachas, beginning with halacha aleph. Zok the Rambam kosu ba Torah. Says in the Torah verse in Parshas Boy, Lo yera l'cha chametz. No chametz shall be seen l'cha. Now, literally, without the oral Torah, can't see chametz. Yeah, that means if I'm walking down the street, it's not mine. I'm looking into a goysha bakery. I'm seeing chametz. That's not what it means. So Yachol, you would think that im taman oisai, that if you buried your chametz, buried means I can't see it. I own it, but I can't see it. Maybe it's okay. Or hifkid oisai b'yad goy. Hifkid means not you sold it. Hifkid means I entrusted it. I own it. You would think, and now it's in the hand of the goy, which means begashmi is I can't see it. You will think lo yia over olav. That's why the Torah writes the other expression, that sa'oir, which also is chametz, lo yimatzei b'botechem, should not be found. Now you get it. And people ask, why does the Torah change that lashon? The lo yimatzei is megale, that the lo yeira doesn't mean only begashmis. That means afilu hitmino, even though you hid it, but it's found in your house, or even if you entrusted it to an andre. Now, let's go weiter. Maybe it's only bibotechem, right? Bibotechem. But if it was far away from your house, which is, it's in the Sadeh, or it is be'ir acheretz, yachol lo yehi oiver. That's why the pasuk writes, the pasuk that says the words lo yera locha chametz, there we have the words bechol givulecha, which means if it is in a place that belongs to you. Now it's getting clearer. Now, yochol yehi chayiv levadim reshusai. What about if it's in my gavul but it's not mine? Chametz shel goy shel hegdish. That's the words lecha. Why lo yera? What's the lecha? Shelcha ein atoroyim. Who does that exclude? Achedim. Who does that exclude? If it already belongs to Gavaya, to God Almighty, to the one that's up on high. Halacha base. Up on high doesn't mean he's not here down low. Okay. Halacha base. Halamadata shechametz shel Yisrael, like this. If I left my chametz in my possession, even though I hid it, even if it's in my possession in my second house over there, even if I gave it to someone else's house, but that person should watch it for me. And even if the other is a goy, both, however, chametz that is shel hegdish, chametz of a goy that is in the hands of a Yisrael, even if it's in your house, now, by the way, when we learned in the previous chapter that because of me'ilah, you don't have to cover it, it's very important. It's not because Yakir, you're over and Bali Rabal Yamatz. It is, you don't want it to be there, like Tosfos writes in the beginning. You don't want to have chametz opened in your house. Someone might end up eating it. You don't have to cover it, but you don't want it to be there, you cover it. But you're not over and Bali Rabal Yamatz. Afilo hoya shall get toishav. Shiyad Yisrael shall let us olav. Doesn't matter. He's not commanded to keep the mitzvahs. The ger toishav owns chametz. That's in my house. This is b'chlal not a problem. The only thing is, again, like we said, hegdish. That's going back koifa lokeli. There's no issue of balira bal yamatzah. There's always an issue. I might eat it. And dafka because chametz is mutter the whole year. The Tosfos uses the words lo yibatal nimenu. A person right away stays away from chazal. But something that you can eat the whole year, you don't stay away from. Shema yavay la'achloi, that's something else. So you make a mechitza gavay asar tvach b'fnei chemtza shel goy. Like today, everything that is sold to a guy is put in a separate cabinet, and you make a heket. That's the mechitza. Shema yavay listapik mimenu, because you might come to eat it. But if not for that chashash, the fact that it's in your house has nothing to do with lo yirah, because it's not locha. Abel shel hegdish, he says you don't even have to make. Ain't it tzarech? You may good, Yakir, you're saying good. And if other people don't know it, then you have to make a mechitza for the other people because they don't know. Halachim. Yisrael comes a huge halacha. Huge halacha is, what does ownership mean? So here, l'chumra, we broaden the definition of ownership. Ownership doesn't only mean if I own this. If this belongs to the guy, but the agreement, and I'm the shomer, doing him a favor. But the understanding is that if I lose it, b'shoigig, if someone breaks into my house and steals it, if I'm going to be chayiv to pay, That means I own it. Chayev b'achrayis for Pesach means I own it. When I go to a hotel and they have a frigo bar, I'm oiver bal yiro bal yemotza. Not because I drank the vodka. I'm oiver midoy raisa. And I'm chayv malchus because I acquired it on Pesach. People say, no. You only acquired the bottle of vodka when you pick it out of the fridge. No, since if it will get ruined, if my kid will take it, I'm chayv b'achrayis. I'm oiver bal yiro bal yemotza. Then what do? You have to. It's very important. When people travel, I always travel on Chol Hamoed. If I travel, I never travel for Yom Tov. I stay in the shul on Yom Tov. Is that you tell when you make the reservation that for religious purposes, I don't want any food. If you tell them you don't want it, I go more. Many times I say that it doesn't help. When I get there, I ask them to come and remove it. But since it's in my reservation that I don't want it, I'm not allowed to have it in my room for religious reasons. I don't want it. I'm not chayv it. You can't force me to own something. You have to make that statement. If the Yid was makabel achrayis, that what? He's have to pay, guys. He's midoy raisa chayv levaroy. Oy geval. Hoyel v'kibel ol achrayis nasa kishaloi. Now, if you're not makabel achrayis, that's like I don't want it. If I don't want it, I'm not going to be chayv. Then what l'kami etzloi. And therefore, it's not chametz she'avar all of Pesach. Umot l'echel memenu achar Pesach, because during Pesach it belonged to the goy. Now the Rambam writes a nuance on that. What happens, Yakir, if legally, I told the guy, you want me to be a shomer? I'm not chayv and achrayis. And the guy says, fine. But that guy is an alum, and if it was stolen, he's going to take the money from me. I'm still going to be over. Goy alum, shehivket chemsei etzel Yisrael. Even if verbally they said, the Yisrael says, listen, I'll do you a favor, but don't come to me if anything happens. The guy says, yeah. If he's a type of person that in Yedei HaYisraeli, that if Avad or Nigna, the Chayvay L'Sham, like that guy is going to get money from me. The Koifeya V'Ansei L'Shalom, even though he was not Mekabel Achrayas, that means I'm Chayiv in Achrayas. And now, Harei Ze Chayiv Levaroi, because Shaharei Nechshav Ke'ilu Ushaloi, B'fnei Shem Chayvay Ha'anas V'Achri Yusoi. So therefore, don't have it. Don't take it. Halacha, hey. Yisrael, shehirin chametzoi eitz lagoy. A Jew gave chametz to a guy as a security for a loan. Who does it belong to? Now, security doesn't mean it belongs to the person. Security means that if the Yid will default, then he'll give it to the guy. A mashkin. That's it. So like this. Im Amar Loi, if the Yid told the guy, these words that im lo hevesa l'chamois mikan va'ad yom ploini, yakir, the yom ploini is before Pesach. Before Pesach. Then, not you'll acquire it then. Kenei chametz zeh ma'achshav. Only that. There's two things here. Number one, the date is before Pesach. Number two, the Yid told the guy, if I won't pay you, you will retroactively own it from now. Then it belongs to the guy. Arei zeh b'reshus hagoy. V'oisa chametz mutar la'achar Pesach. And obviously, if you don't have all of that, but even Yakir, even though, listen to this, a guy gives security, a Yid gives security, and he tells the guy, if I won't pay until the 10th of Nisan, then it will belong to you. Then it doesn't belong to him, even if he didn't pay on the 10th. Because that's really the understanding of a security. Security means I owe you the money. I don't want you to take this. I said it because I was certain that I'll have the money. But when I don't have the money, in the Yid's mind, forget about the Pesach issue. What he still wants is to come up with the money and to get that back. He never fully gave it to him. It's just a pikoden by the guy. And we just touched that the meaning of lo yirav lo yematzah means doesn't matter. It's yours. You entrusted in the hands of a guy, but it belonged to you. And therefore, you saw the guy, they're traveling on a trip, on a sfina. What's the issue on a sfina? Normally, people don't make fires on the little rowboats that they had. They want to cross the Mediterranean on a rowboat. And the so you try to eat it up, but there's still left over. That's the beginning of the mechira. You can sell it to a guy. Or better, you can give it to him as a gift. Not only that, what's the issue on a ship? Today, they have a kitchen, they serve you food. When you go on a ship, you better bring enough food for you. So this Yid will need that bread to live. He's allowed to give it to the guy, and then he can buy it back. The only thing is, Halacha Zayin. Oimer hu Yisrael going. No. By the way, in other areas of halacha, that would work. Well, here you're not allowed to do it. A playwright you're not allowed to do it because Yakir, if I give it to the guy almanas, what happens if he doesn't give it back? What will come out then? That I never gave it to him. I owned it. I was even on Bal Yirah, Bal Yamotz. That's why you can't do it that way. Now, what happens if the Yid tells the guy something that the guy understands that the Jew will buy it back, and the guy will make money from it? He tells him, "You're on a ship, guys. The guy doesn't want to buy to help you out. The guy wants to buy because he needs food. You know how much food the guy thinks he needs? Half of my bread. And he's willing to pay a money." So I tell the guy, you know what? Instead of you only buying a mana, why don't you buy 200 worth? Buy from me. And you say why? You know why? It's good for you. It's good for you to buy it from me. Because maybe I'm going to have to buy it back after Pesach. And you'll make a few dollars. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. The only thing is, don't make any stipulation. Because if you make a stipulation, if the stipulation won't be met, then the sale is not a sale. Then you own chametz on Pesach. New topic, guys. So we learned in Perek Aleph, chametz. So iron chametz is the same. Then we learned about taroivus chametz. If you remember taroivus chametz, like for example, chametz over all of our Pesach doesn't go on taroivus chametz. So let's go. Taroivus chametz also even in olea bal yirah bal yamotz, even though it's not pure chametz. For example, murios, pickled brine. How there was chametz in there, I have no idea, but they had chametz in there. Today, the yellow gook of the Ashkenazi gefilte fish, Mustama, the fish is not fish. The fish is filled with bread. It's chametz mixed in there. Kuta chabavli, abada. You have the moldy bread. V'sheichen amadi, median beer that is made from flour. That is also included in the prohibition of owning. But before all of today's chomres, halacha 9, Ketzad, Areva so abdanim. Think about it. When you tan hides, how did they tan hides? So there was a couple of steps. One of the steps was they would put in flour. That was such a smelly profession. And when you put any type of kemach, which is mixed with water, you put it in that trough, no one would eat it. So even if it just touched that trough. So areva so abdanim shenosam l'toich kemach together with the hides, even if you only put it a moment before the meal. But the imli nosan oidos, but you put the kemach, that depends. If you put it there 3 days, mutter, because even though there was no hide yet, if it's just in that trough for 3 days, it becomes nifsat behavior. It becomes spoiled. It becomes rotten. I self had chametz in it, or v'hadatiyah, a compress that people put over a wound. Sometimes they would put some chametz in there, or vohis pelanis, plaster, tiriyak, maza tiriyak. It's some sort of medicine that people will take to counter a bite from a snake or a scorpion. This is an Arabic word. Tiriyak. Shenoson teicha chametz, mutar l'kaimim pesach, sharei nifsudot suras hachametz. Here you see chametz in medicine that you're going to ingest is okay. Halacha yudal, maybe tiriyak was put on the wound, so I don't know if you ingested it. Halacha yudal. Hapas atzma, forget about the mixture. Not taroivis, that's not roy lachila. Look at the difference, kid. Taroivis chametz, that's not roy lachila. You can be makayim. What about bread? Bread itself that now got spoiled. It's not enough that it's not roy lachila sodom. Bread itself has to be pasur mechilas kelef. Taroiv is chametz that Rambam is saying it's okay if a human won't eat it. But not enough that people won't eat it, that even a dog won't eat it, or a melugmash and istracha, this compress that got spoiled. I don't know, they would mamish put chametz on it. They would mamish put chametz on it. Then, since it's not even good, machilas kelev, ein tzarech levayin. Big difference. Taroiv is chametz, it's enough that people won't eat it. Chametz atzmai, it has to be even more that even a kelev won't eat it. And kelev dafka, right? That whole sugya in brachas, that God gave for all of the creatures their sustenance and nature, which is why if I don't own it, since on Shabbos all animals are muktzah, including your pets, you can't feed it. The exception is a kelev. Not only your pet you can feed, your pet, but other people's, a kelev you can feed. That's also why a kelev, that Hashem made its digestive tract, and it takes 72 hours to digest food. Because who says it's going to have another meal? Hungry like a dog, that expression comes from this. Now, the golden shekipsu oisam bechelev chita, garments that will wash together with starch. Cheni yorois shedivku oisam bechametz. You have different pieces of paper that you glue them together with chametz. The kol kayotzem ozem. That Rambam is saying, Pashat, muter lekaimam bepesach, ve'ein bahem mishum le'irov le'yamatzah, she'ein suras hachametz le'medes. In other words, we don't need for it to be pasal mechilas kelev. When do we need something to be pasal mechilas kelev? If it's chametz mamish, and it has a tzuras of chametz. Something that b'chlal doesn't look like chametz, it's not edible. It's enough. Final halacha yud beis, davar shenesarev bechametz. But ve'eina machal adam klal. See, eina machal adam, yakir. Oi, she'eina machal kol adam. I think it's machal. I think this tiriak, like we mentioned, it's a medicine to counter the antidote for snake scorpion bite. Only someone who was bitten would have it. The chayoytze boy, now he says like this: Afa pisha muta lekaimoy, but still also lo'achli adachar pesach. Gavaldik. Oh, very good. I said good, yakir.
They would eat that?
I think when they got bitten. So you're not even about your matzah, but you can't consume it. Because anything, something that's pasam achilas kelev, that's the word, is not food anymore. If it's only pasam achilas adam, even though you won't be oiven about your matzah, if it's a taroivis chametz, but you still cannot eat it. During Pesach, let me just add one nuance, and that's what most places can paskin, that nowadays, when we're speaking about the medicines that are in capsules, yakir, it's another layer. Because here, you are not eating it normally. And it's bitter. Tiriak, you can say there's a need. That's a halacha. So now, in other words, today's medicines that are put in capsules is even less problematic. God willing to be continued.